My name is Kaushik. We are to discuss the general idea of the philosophy questions at University of Hyderbad. So, University of Hyderbad philosophy question is broken into four different categories. The test four different areas, in four different areas. The first one is the core of the field. The second one, generally testing reading comprehension. Third aspect of testing logical reasoning. Fourth thing that it tests is general knowledge. So reading comprehension is pretty straightforward. There are two passages, probably 10 questions in each passage. He has to mark the right one. Logical reasoning usually revolves around the questions on some artificial language questions. They are given some answers to question pattern. Then you have to get to the right pattern and on syllogisms as well. And some questions on mental ability was found. General knowledge is a basic constitution, I would say. Not you don't have to dwell so much in ponder about this or worry about this. The basics of history. Each is approximately of equal weight is one fourth of this, one fourth of this, one fourth of this, one fourth of this. Candidate who sees this can solve this, and good chunk of this as well. But the philosophy, the core part of philosophy, are not exposed to the basics of philosophy. Finding this question, this section of questions, is a bit difficult. As in, it carries at least some say 50 to 20 marks roughly on a whole of 100 marks. So this becomes the sort of deciding factor when it comes to securing a seat in the University of Hyderabad. So reading about the questions that are usually asked in this particular section. The questions in the first section usually revolve around the philosophy, which we can broadly define on Indian philosophy, Western philosophy. One of the most often repeated questions is the discipline that you're going to study, the very nature of the discipline. That is what exactly philosophy means to study. So, if you look at it etymologically, philosophy is derived from two words, philo and sophia. So, philo is something, love, and this is knowledge. Any sort of curiosity that raises, any sort of curiosity that is raised by a particular person to solve, to ask, to bring out a logical conclusion, the most fundamental questions is the whole study of philosophy. It attempts to answer the fundamental questions like what is the being, what is becoming, and what is ultimate reality, what is knowledge. And then you have what is true form of knowledge. How do you get to know the true form of knowledge? What is something that is very apt to do? What ought to do? So these are all the questions, and something we call them as ethics. So these form the basic study of your philosophy. So philosophy is something that raises the curiosity or inquisitiveness, or probably look for searching the most fundamental answers to the most fundamental questions. Philosophy can be broadly any branch of academic discipline. It actually has got its roots in philosophy. In the case, the moment you start asking a particular question, the moment you start reaching out of your domain and find out answers to this thing, is called as philosophy. For example, and that's the reason we call philosophy as the mother of all subjects. Suppose, consider this to be a tree. The roots, this is your philosophy. In the trunk, you can call it as philosophy. Every other branch is actually from this very tree, as in, say, physics. So physics is also something natural philosophy, but the domain of its study lies in answering the natural questions. The questions posed by nature, something that makes us ponder. For example, you say there's an apple that falls down. So how did actually, what is the, why did actually it fall down? What is the scientific principle? So what we do, we apply, most probably in science, what happens is that we go with an empirical proofs. We'll get to know empirical proofs. So this is the realm of physics. So philosophy has been a new branch. We call as natural science or natural philosophy. But a whole lot of questions revolve around the natural phenomena, the fundamental questions of nature. For example, in the same case, another branch called as bio or natural sciences evolved. It asks about the biological phenomenon. For example, what is the reason that a small seed is now able to germinate into a whole other big tree? So this is the fundamental question of biology. How actually people reproduce? What is the reason that a small zygote or probably small sperm is able to give rise to this whole lot of body? So this is the realm of the biology. And similarly, philosophy also gave rise to sociology. Whereas the central theme of sociology is something different. It asks about what is society? What is the function of society? How a society or societal order is maintained. So this is the realm of sociology. Now, when you come into the realm of political science asks political science deals with the power, what actually the state is, and the theories of power, etc. But the central theme of anything is seeking answers, and that is the general realm of philosophy. And now, philosophy can be mainly classified, study of philosophy can be mainly classified into epistemology, metaphysics, ethics. So further, there are various theories in ethics, so various theories of epistemology and various theories in metaphysics. So if we want to get into ethics, what I'd like to say this as a subset of Value theory. Value theory is something that consists of axiology. How do you ascribe value to anything? This is a fundamental question of axiology. Now, ethics also talks of what ought to be done so as to lead a good life. There are many normative theories in ethics. We have many ethical theories as well. So we'll talk about the ethical theories later. We will start here. Ethics is something, basically something that deals about what ought to be done. And you have various ethical theories like consequentialism. Consequentialism is a theory of ethics which evaluates the rightness or wrongness on the end result of an action. For example, there are two kids, right? This kid actually wanted to hit this kid. The whole of intention is very bad. He wants to hit the other one. But all of a sudden, what happened was there's a fly on this kid's head, and this pen or paper or whatever it is, it got hit on this particular person. Since this particular kid, the consequence of this action is that some dangerous mosquito flies probably otherwise would have made him prone to malaria, so be rid of. So the consequence is good, but the whole lot of action is the innate nature of the action is bad. So it only takes into consideration of consequence. So this is called as consequentialism. The second theory of ethics is deontology. Also, only we will usually also call it duty-based ethics, or to put very precisely, it's opposite to the consequentialism. Say the same example. You have two kids over here. This kid, say suppose he forgot his pen, he wants to pass it to you. But somehow this kid couldn't catch, he got hurt. So it is not only considering the end, but also considering the means of the action. Next theory, one of the most popular theories, is hedonism. This says any ethical theory can be judged on the amount of pleasure that particular action gives. It is of the maxim that perform any particular activity that gives the maximum pleasure. The prime proponent of this ethical theory is Epicurus. So it says any action can be evaluated on the amount of pleasure that it gives. So this is pleasure. It is interesting to note that Epicurus was one philosopher in the Greek, probably in the Western world, uh, and the ideas of this philosopher matches with an Indian sage or philosopher called Charva, who also is a materialistic and hedonistic philosopher. So any action or do the ultimate purpose of life is to perform such action which maximizes your pleasure. The third is, sorry, the fourth one is utilitarianism. Utilitarianism is that branch of ethics or that ethical theory that deals with that theories or that action is particularly good, which has benefited maximum people. Say for example, there's a dam over here, some villages over here. So the government wants to vacate of these villages because this is going to generate jobs, revenue, probably uncertainty in rains. So this ethical action can be considered. Sorry, this action can be considered ethical because it is giving maximum happiness to the maximum number of people. So this a few ethical theories. So Machiavelli is another branch of philosophy that is epistemology. The central question of philosophy revolves around two branches, two things. What is reality, the ultimate reality, and how do you get to know what is ultimate reality? How do you know? Or else, we can put it this way: what is knowledge, or how do you get to know knowledge? What is knowledge? Yeah, how do you get to know knowledge? Then what is knowledge? When we have this question of how do you get to know what is knowledge, then it means that you are into the domain of epistemology. And when you wanted to know what exactly is knowledge or what is reality, and that falls into the domain of metaphysics. See, physics is physics and some scientific subject. And meta is beyond something beyond a sensory experience, something beyond a nominal world or an empirical world falls into the realm of metaphysics. It's one of the frequently asked questions in the University of Hyderbad, as in what is philosophy? What is the whole study of philosophy? What does it do? And next, what is metaphysics? Because it's central theme of philosophy. are the central themes. And this is what is epistemology. 2018, I guess. 17, not sure. So one question was asked on what is the study of ethics. Some option was given, was it a normative or something of that sort. So I hope we have got a brief idea of what sort of questions are asked. The basic of what is philosophy, what is metaphysics, and what is epistemology. And anything that deals with how do we get to know what is knowledge is called as epistemology, and metaphysics deals with what is it knowledge, what constitutes knowledge. Is metaphysics or what is becoming, what is being is taken as knowledge, and what is the subject domain of philosophy? How is it distinct from the other uh, academic disciplines like sociology, psychology, political science, any other discipline in natural sciences? We also talked about the ethical theories that are involved in philosophy. And there are a few questions on terms. Like they might ask you what is axiology. They might ask you what is axiology is nothing but a value study. How do you assign, how do you ascribe value to something? If you say she's beautiful, so how do you say, how do you ascribe the value to the beauty? Because beauty is a very subjective thing. There's no objective reality of beauty because it is different for different sort of people. Beauty, so in the typical Indian context, so being fake is beautiful. And thanks to Black Lives Matter, so there's another thing called Black is Beautiful. So both the beauty, where British color is referring to beauty, as a dark is also referring to beauty. What is beautiful? And axiology deals with that particular thing. And another important question is most of one of the most often repeated questions is, does philosophy study religion? If so, then what is the purpose of theology? So we'll be demarcating or drawing a line of difference between what is philosophy of religion and theology. Both studies religion, but the approach of study is something that is different. For example, philosophy of religion also falls under the realm of one of the branches of philosophy. But philosophers approach it dispassionately. That is, they don't get very personal when it comes to their religion. They leave their personal choices somewhere outside before getting into the study. They don't want to prove or disprove or endorse or reject any particular religion. They involve in critical study of it, the study of religion. Or at times they also involve in what is the function of religion. So no personal sort of biases are taken by considering philosophy of religion. Whereas theology or theologians have this prejudice, or they make up this sort of mind that one particular religion is probably the first religion, or it's only this religion that takes to that shows way to salvation, or they basically endorse their religion, what they're preaching, they endorse it. And what the most important feature of the religion, the lack is critical view. Since the theologians, they have to support the claims of the religion. They're not critical of you. And this distinguishes the philosopher from the theologian. For example, the theologian claims God is great, God is powerful, or you put order of adjectives. For example, the general description of God is that is omniscient, is omnipotent, or is infinitely kind, infinitely powerful. All these are the definitions of God, and these are preached by theologians as whereas philosopher will question, philosopher of religion will questions. If really God is so powerful, I'll tell you an example of stone paradox. God is really that powerful. So some philosopher comes and asks the theologian, can your God, build a stone that is infinitely powerful or infinitely heavy? The theologian says, yes, he can do that. Now, philosopher comes and asks, can God lift this infinitely powerful stone? He says, yes. And now, philosopher says, if your God is infinitely powerful, then he must be creating such a stone that it is infinitely heavy and he must not be lifting it. Right? If he does not lift that particular stone, it's not infinitely powerful. So this is a typical stone paradox. If God creates such a stone that is infinitely powerful that he can't lift, then all his powers are at stake. If at all he lifts, then that is not infinitely powerful stone. So this is the approach that philosophers generally go with this critical sort of view. Now, another major theoretical strand of philosophy or epistemology, I would say, or how do we get to know this knowledge? But there are two major branches of knowledge. One is two major divisions: empiricism and rationalism. So these are all theories of knowledge. They're all about how you get to know knowledge. So rationalist philosophers argue that you can get to know true knowledge only by reason. There is no role of senses or sensory experience in attaining knowledge. It's also called as a priori. A priori form of knowledge. A priori, it means that prior to something. So all your knowledge is nothing but a product of your thought or reason. Nothing comes from experience. So this sort of theory is called as rationalism. And to propound that theory or advocate that theory are called as rationalists. It is interesting to note that most of the rationalist philosophers are mathematicians. In the sense, for them, ideas, logic, reason constitute the way to attain knowledge. So, philosophers like Spinoza, Descartes, Leibniz, etc., are famous rationalists who propounded that ideas are always innate in our mind, and there is no sort of knowledge that is going to come out of sensory experiences. And now, we want to empiricism or empirical philosophy. They say there's nothing in mind. The mind is just a blank slate. It's called tabula rasa. When you're born, you have no knowledge. It's just that you're born with a blank slate, and sensations and impressions, I would say, it is from the external or empirical world that you got knowledge. So we will demonstrate an example. Child is not sure what actually a mango is. He says that the idea of mango is not in child. He experiences mango. There's some qualities attributed to this mango. We get these qualities, or we get to know these qualities from our sensory organs, like tongue, nose, eyes, ears. For example, a child smells this mango, sort of sweetish flavor. Again, tastes it, it's sweet, sees it, like a mango is yellow in color. So when all these attributes together are coming from the experience of sensory organs, and this is how he gets to know what a mango is. And there is no role of, they argue that there is no role of mind in attaining know what is mango. Child observes it, he categorizes it. When he says, when he sees a different sort of thing, or a similar sort of thing, sorry, a similar sort of thing somewhere else, which is yellowish in color, it tastes sweet, and there is, a fluffy sort of thing. So now he says that since it is meeting all these qualities that he got from his sensory experience, he says it's mango, and this is how knowledge is being formed or created. So let's start the difference between empiricism and rationalism. Other famous philosophers in this category are John Locke talks of primary qualities, secondary qualities, and Berkeley, even he talks of empiricism, that is subjective, idealism, and yeah, and most one main philosopher exclusively is an empiricist materialist is again Charvak. Charvak is a complete exception in Indian philosophy. Goes all against the established norms. So we'll discuss about the central proponents of, central theme of each school of philosophy or each section of metaphysics or epistemology. Before we get into that, there is one favorite area of question paper setters on Indian philosophy. You know that. Indian philosophy is also a system of Shaddarjan. Broadly classified into two major steps, two major groups. First one is Stika and second is Nastik. You don't get confused when I say Nastik, it's the opinion of God. No, it is not this. Indian philosophy has its roots mostly from Vedas, Upanishads. Vedas, and some other texts as well. So, any system or any school that believes in Vedas is Astik. Anything that rejects is Nastik. So, for Nastik, you have Jainism, Buddhism. So, Buddhism does not believe in Vedas, so is Jainism. Astika philosophy is something, or that means of philosophy that deals with, or that accepts the authority of Vedas. Right. And yoga, the yoga school of philosophy, Sankhya, Nyaya, says, falls in this category, etc. But it is interesting to note that yoga is Astic philosophy, but denies the existence of God. Yet, we categorize it as Astic school because believe in the authority of Vedas, having God. And Charvak, in the typical sense, is complete or critic. So we'll discuss that. But just before that, make sure that you know what are the four Vedas. Rig, Yajurved, and Samaved. So, and what are subject? What is the subject matter of each? Rigved, it contains things about the rituals, sacrifices, Atharvaved about magical spells, Samved also deals with certain physical tone. So, it is a subject matter of Vedas. And out of Vedas and the last chapters of Vedas, we get to know that there is something called as Vedanta philosophy. So this is this thing. Next, we also draw the part of ethical theories from Mahabharata. So you have to know how many chapters are there in Mahabharata. We call Paravas. written across in Mahabharata. The articles about the article, Karnaka, Dronaka, all these things. So Mahabharata is about this, and the author of it is Vedas. And mentioning this was often asked in the entrance examination.